Well, this is week 3, and I want to start this episode by saying something a little bit different. This week, it didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel dramatic. It didn't even feel like I was having to prove anything. It just felt, I don't think honest is the right word, but that's the word I'm going to go with. And honestly, that feels like progress. Not because everything went right, but because I stayed engaged instead of getting discouraged. This episode exists to capture what it looks like to keep going without turning the process into a punishment. This is 1 year no excuses, and for the next year, I'm committing to a small set of daily and weekly practices around faith, focus, and creation. And I'm talking about them out loud, whether I keep them or not, because this is not about mastery or motivation, but it is about attention and discipline and telling the truth about real life as it happens. Some weeks are going to be strong, and some weeks are going to be uneven. My only rule is that I don't make any excuses and I keep it honest. So, having said that, let's get to the checklist and see where I landed in week 3. Under faith, I have 3 categories of goals here. So, under faith, daily Bible reading. Yes, I completed that every day. Prayed intentionally for one friend or family member. I just have to pause right here and say for the 3rd week in a row, I have not taken the time to stop and pray for people like I should have. I have not stopped to pray for myself as I should have. And I don't know why. We'll delve into that a little bit later. But let's move on to my focus is the next area of goals. So carnivore. Plus a little bit of exercise. I kind of amended that one. It used to just be pursuing the carnivore diet, but now it includes some exercise because one can't really go without the other. But again, I got a mostly. My no social day, no, I did not complete one that week. Reading 1 book per month, yes, I'm halfway through my book. And then the 3rd set of goals falls under creation. So learning a new skill. AI, prompt engineering, and vibe coding, yes. Podcast recorded and maintained. I'm going to say partially. The prep work is completed for episode 3, which I'm recording now. And then my first episodes, as I told you in the previous episode, I published those to YouTube, but I still have not posted them to Spotify. I don't know if I'm just nervous about being that exposed to the world, but I can't say that's true because I did post them to YouTube. Nevertheless, that is the record for week 3. And I think the theme that maybe stands out to me for this week is pretty simple. Encouragement lasts longer than pressure. This checklist does not tell a story of perfection, obviously, but it does tell a story of continued engagement. And for me, that's a win. That's a win for the week. Something shifted for me this week. Maybe I stopped needing the week to feel like I'm trying to prove something. There wasn't a big emotional surge. There was no dramatic reset. No, this changes everything moment. And yet I kept showing up for the most part. Bible reading stayed consistent, and I'm quite proud of that. My reading habits, the book I think is called The Best Beer Run Ever. It's moving forward. Learning has continued. Preparation is happening. None of it felt super heroic. In fact, it didn't feel at all heroic. It just felt normal. And I'm starting to realize that might be the point. For a long time, maybe I've associated progress with intensity, or with big swings, but intensity, I guess it burns fast. It's kind of like when the honeymoon wears off to a new couple, but encouragement, encouragement keeps the lights on. So this week reminded me that I don't need to be harsh with myself to stay disciplined. I just need to stay honest and keep moving. Now, I marked health as mostly again, and I'm not ashamed of that. And this time I didn't flinch when I said it. I'm eating better, I'm moving more, and I'm paying attention. And instead of beating myself up for what wasn't perfect or what I didn't do, I asked a better question. Is this sustainable? And right now, the answer is a resounding yes. And that matters more than forcing a standard that I can't keep. I'm not lowering the bar. I'm simply extending the runway, if you will. Discipline does not grow from shame. It grows from repetition. I should put that on a coffee cup. Anyway, before I go any further, I want to share something that I probably should have shared a little bit earlier. I'm doing it right now without over dramatizing it. Don't have any pictures because I don't want to make a big deal out of it. But I am tracking my weight and measurements. It's not part of my goals, but it's just simply information for me to have. So I first weighed on January 1st of this year, and I came in at 271.2 pounds. Yes, I'm a big boy. And you can probably tell it. Even though this is a chest up shot, you can probably tell it. Then on January 10th, I weighed in again, and I had dropped to 262. Now, that sounds impressive, but let's face it. Everybody has a big drop their first week of doing any kind of new routine or diet or exercise or whatever. And we all know why. But I expect that's going to slow down over the next few weeks and become a little more normal. But the measurements I took from that same day, my waist was 46 inches. My gut, oh mercy, my gut was 63 and a half inches. My thighs were about 27 inches each, and my chest is 47 inches. So I'm sharing that for one reason only, so that this process maybe stays grounded in reality and not some crazy vibes or hype. No claims, just data. And we'll see what it does over time. I want to look better in my clothes, and I want to feel better. I want to have mental clarity. And so I'm trying to put these things in to make them become habits in my life so that when I age, I want to age gracefully, if you will. I have a mother and a father who both did not have the greatest health in their old age. I say that in past tense. My dad has passed. My mother's still alive. But I see how they've struggled as they got older. And I suppose we'll all get there one day, but I don't want to have a difficult time with old age. Thus, I'm trying to fix things now while I'm still able to do it. Now, earlier I said something about how I didn't pray again this week. It was a no again. I don't want to spiral down on that, but I did notice something. I didn't avoid prayer because I didn't care, because I do. I do care. And I still don't really know why I don't take the time to pray. I'm going to have to think on that a little bit. It's so easy to postpone a prayer, and it's not something you can really measure. But I do need to apply more intention to that aspect of my life. It needs to be a more clear moment. But having said that, my checklist is not to accuse me. It's here to teach me where friction lives. And I think that's useful information. So I know what I need to correct. I've just got to figure out how to do it. For creation, I marked it as a partial again. And again, that feels pretty accurate. This podcast is moving. Preparation is happening. Episodes do exist. But the system isn't fully closed yet. And instead of letting that frustrate me, I'm learning to treat it as a reminder. Progress doesn't require everything to be finished. Just continued attention. So this progress does not, or rather this podcast does not need urgency. It just needs consistency, and I'm still here. So I think we've got the consistency thing down. So let me go through a thought worth keeping this week. The thought I'm carrying forward from week 3 is this. You don't need to be hard on yourself to be serious. You just need to keep showing up without lying. I've said that week after week after week. And if you're listening and you've been stuck in a cycle of restarts and quits, let me say this plainly. If I can do this imperfectly, slowly, and publicly, you can do your version of it too. You don't have to have a platform. I don't have a platform. I'm trying to create a way for me to be accountable to myself. And that's what this is all about. But we can do it. Let's do it. Folks, that's week 3. Same checklist next week. Same questions, same honesty. Here's what I would encourage you to do in the meantime. Just one thing. Write down 3 practices that you want to keep for just the next week. Not forever. Just the next 7 days. Then at the end of the week, don't judge them. Just record what happened. That's it. If this episode helped you feel less alone in the process, share it with somebody who's trying quietly to change something. And if you want to follow along more closely, you can find the podcast on YouTube now, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts will be coming soon. 1 year. No excuses. Just keep showing up, and I will see you next week.